I feel like I say this with almost every chapter of Dead Rock, but it just keeps getting better than the last. I mean, 4 chapters in a row of straight up good content, the story progressing, build up, anticipation, hype, and even stakes. Everything has just continued to get better with this series, and we're only 4 chapters in. We're only 4 months into the series, and I'm not sure where things are going to go from here, and if it's going to follow the usual format of fighting each of these 4 demon generals, first lackeys and then the demon generals, eventually leading up to the principal being basically God. However, I do feel like, even though this is meant to be a short series, like I stated within chapter 1, it could go on for roughly 4 to 5 years at max, because it depends on the definition of a short series. But we just have to wait and see. Either way, this is another really great chapter. I'm doing this lead up. It's been a minute at this point. Let's just cut right to the chapter. But before we get into that, if you like the content I make on this channel, if you're enjoying the Dead Rock reviews and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really does help, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel. Dead Rock is doing very well on this channel for our new series, and I am very happy to cover it, as it's one of my favorite manga to read on a monthly basis right now. And I do plan to make more Dead Rock content in the future, maybe even some shorts. At the point of me recording this video, we're almost at 6,000 subscribers, and I want to aim for 10k by the end of the year, and I really do think we can make it there. But enough stalling, on with the chapter. Chapter 4 of Dead Rock, titled Death Arena. And we waste no time from the end of the last chapter as we jump over to presumably the next day, as we see Class F, the Dead Rock 7, that I am going to be calling them from now on because it sounds cooler than Class F, walking towards the Death Arena as all the miscellaneous students and extras are talking about what happened with how they basically massacred Class D in the previous chapter. And we all know that was just a straight up massacre, a slaughter, to show just how powerful these 7 students were, even though it was just 5 of them fighting. But one of the students mentions someone named Kuga, which gets Hein's attention. We then cut to Yakuto as he is kind of slowly freaking out over the fact that God found out that Maxwell was a fake that was sent to the staff meeting in order to spy on the teachers and God himself. And he's wondering if he knows that he was behind it. But Yakuto's like, okay, what am I getting scared for? I'm here to kill the guy. I need to be prepared. And then we get a brief image of the cat girl who was introduced in the previous chapter, as Yakuto's wondering just what was up with her, as in the previous chapter she brought up that Yakuto didn't have much time left. And in this chapter, Yakuto confirms that he has a curse. And he's wondering, it sounded like she knew about his curse, but then she disappeared right afterwards. So while I wanted to see more of that interaction, it's obvious Mashima is kind of holding that off, as she's going to have a bigger role in the story and potentially tie into Yakuto's whole backstory and this whole curse deal. It is then that Chako just plants herself on Yakuto's head, treating it like a nest. As Hani just states, why are you using his head as a bird's nest? These two arguing, I feel like it's going to be a running gag, them bickering. And I don't mind it. Kinda funny. As then Ryzen just says that today is practical training lesson and they'll be dueling in the Death Arena. Obviously, Frey is literally excited to fight somebody, as she is a battle maniac, and Mikoto is basically trembling at the thought of all of the souls sleeping in the arena that she could potentially, feed upon and even make into her own endless army of soldiers. You gotta love the necromancer. As we then reach Death Arena, as this is where one of the 4 demon teachers, Lauzen, is basically in charge of. And this 2-page spread, the detail on this arena is astonishing. Seriously, Mashima's gotten a lot better with all of his background artwork from like the middle of Fairy Tail through Eden Zero and now Dead Rock. This really does feel like he's come into his own as a background artist. It's just everything with the foreground and just designs with areas in general. I'm speechless. Mikoto walks in and she then falls to the ground as she is overwhelmed with the fact that there are so many screaming voices of souls from this arena. It's called a death arena, so you would assume that there would be a lot of, like, death here. So, yeah. Chako slowly begins to freak out and gets terrified over everything as Hani just grabs her before she decides to fly away because she's scared. And then, riding in on a chariot, singing a random song, jumping off onto the ground, making a grand, kind of bizarre entrance, and then basically thrusting his hips to destroy the chariot he just rode on in a gimp suit, is Allyfun, one of the 4 demon generals. Now, based on the last chapter, I figured he would probably be like the second to last character that they would fight, considering the introductory of each of the 4 demon generals, and it might still be true. This might just be here to showcase the difference in their strengths within a fight that will occur at some point in this whole section. But I did not think that he was wearing a gimp suit based on the last chapter. I don't know why I'm fixated on this. This just doesn't seem like it fits, yet it also fits at the exact same time. Okay, tangent over. Let's just continue with the chapter. Frey gets excited that they're about to enter in a fight, and Ryzen mentions that they are in fact going to be doing practical lessons, and wonders what exactly they're going to be doing for these lessons. Allyfun gets incredibly, giddy over the fact that he's gonna see these students fight, as he heard what they did to Class D and says that it was great. Mikoto's smiling me like he's very invigorating, as Heinz is like, the way he moves is annoying. I agree, he's strange. Anyway, YAKUTO gets serious for a second. It's like, if we all fight him at once, could we kill him? And as we know, we see Allyfun smile. YAKUTO's like, he might not seem it, but he's quite powerful. If I misjudge things here, he'll kill us for sure. Showing situational awareness, being like, okay, if we team up on him, there's a chance we could beat him, but if we misjudge this guy even the slightest bit, we're dead meat. And again, they're first year students in this school. They're definitely not on the level of these teachers just yet. But Allyfun then states that they're going to be going into 2-person pairs for practice fights. And Frey just latches on to YAKUTO, saying that she wants to fight him, as obviously she kind of got excited to fight him after day 1. Mikoto, being overwhelmed by the sheer amount of souls that she's not used to it in this whole arena, asks to sit out of the practical lesson, as Allyfun then agrees. Ryzen and Hein are basically paired up, and Chako and Hani are paired up, with Chako being incredibly, cocky against Hani, as Hani's like, one single thunderbolt is probably going to be all it needs to, take you out. He says this later on, but that's kind of what we're all thinking. The battles begin, and Frey begins to get ready to take on YAKUTO. YAKUTO says that this is a practice match, but with a heart in her eye, Frey just tells YAKUTO to come at her for real, as YAKUTO's being like, well, hold on a second, we're friends. So hitting each other is kind of a bit, and then Frey just ends up, okay, hitting each other is not right, but hey, I'll kick you instead. Hitting YAKUTO in the face with a flaming kick, and that was honestly kind of a hilarious reaction as he's like thrown to the wall. Frey gets back down and goes for another kick against YAKUTO, but he then dodges. She then gets ready to use a fire fist, and in that second, YAKUTO uses his dragon frame to create his black dragon fist, as he and Frey clash as they cancel each other's attacks out. Frey is excited, and YAKUTO realizes how hot her flames are, which catches Allyfun's attention. And this next bit of dialogue is actually Mashima basically referencing Fairy Tail, and just makes me all sorts of happy, as Frey mentions way back when I read a story about a battle between a fire wizard and a black dragon. YAKUTO wonders who won, as Frey just says the fire wizard as she engulfs her hand in flames, with a very gleeful smile on her face, getting ready to fight. Obviously, big reference to Natsu and ACNOLOGIA's fight at the end of Fairy Tail. Now, this could literally just be a fairy tale meant to basically reference the series Fairy Tail, because Mashima loves calling back to his previous series, obviously, because it's something that he likes to do, and I think fans don't really mind it, and it's actually kind of fun for the Easter eggs and the callbacks. But you could also make this a case to connect it to Fairy Tail, being like the battle between ACNOLOGIA and Natsu could have been something that happened a long time ago. It was so epic that it was turned into a legitimate story that even outside of the human realm, it could be used. Obviously, that's stretching a bit. A lot of fans of Dead Rock and Fairy Tail kind of want these series to be connected in some way. I don't think it is, especially with the fact this is a literal story. But, you never know. Mashima could pull something to make this make sense. Either way, a really cool and fun reference, as literally Frey is literally just gender bend Natsu, and Yakuto is just a more or less a younger ACNOLOGIA based off his design. Even though the personality of Yakuto is relatively different than ACNOLOGIA, Frey is almost exactly like Natsu to an extent. It's a really fun comparison and callback. Moving forward, we have Hein versus Ryzen as they clash swords continuously and they pair each other. Ryzen compliments the use of the sword that Hein has, as Hein's like, hey, who are you misjudging, you zombie? But obviously Ryzen says that my root is Orochi, and I'll show you the 8 sword method. And I like that and we all know that Yamato no Orochi has like 8 heads and 8 tails in Japanese folklore, and with the different swords, it implies that he can use 8 swords, or he can strike with his one sword in a manner where it seems like he has 8. I'm stretching it, but we have yet to see the full capabilities of all the members of the Dead Rock 7, so this portion of the story is mostly going to showcase a lot of their skills in an actual combat sense. Hein says, I'd feel bad for you if you got sliced into pieces again, so just freeze your heart instead. Which is considerate, also kind of funny when you realize that, oh yeah, Ryzen is technically dead right now. I keep forgetting he's a zombie, which is hilarious, yet also kind of dark and twisted at the same time. We move on to Chaco versus Hani, as Chaco's getting swarmed up to fight Hani. And Hani just says, you know, a bolt of lightning from me is basically going to cook you into a roast chicken, right? But then Chaco says not to underestimate her, as she says she'll show him the power of Yatagarasu. We see her struggle, and she grows a 3rd foot out of her head. Which, like me reading this for the first time, Hani just collapses on the ground, laughing hysterically how stupid this is. And knowing Mashima, he'll probably, towards the middle point or the end of the series, do something to reveal that Jako will end up being incredibly powerful by the end of the series with the full capabilities of Yatagarasu. I gotta do actual research on how Yatagarasu is in Japanese folklore. I just know that it's a bird yokai or something in Japanese folklore mythology that has 3 legs. That's all I really know about it. Mikoto's just sitting down and watching off on the sidelines, as Laozen is just, watching all the fights. We see more of Frey versus Yakuto as they manage to fight each other on relatively equal playing field at the moment, with Yakuto complimenting how strong Frey is. But Frey says, we're not going all out yet, but you're pretty strong too, Yakuto. The fight stops for a second as Yakuto asks the important question to Frey why she entered Dead Rock in the first place. Frey says the main reason she wants to fight, but she also wants to surpass her older sister because she didn't graduate. Frey says that she was stronger than her, but she didn't make it to graduation and she died during a class. We get a brief flashback as she states that if she can graduate, she'll have made it further than her sister. And in this flashback, little Frey asks her older sister that she's going to Dead Rock. And her sister just says that, yeah, when I become a demon queen, I'll make you a flame kingdom. And when she offers to make Frey a flame princess, Flame just says, no, I'll be a knight instead. As the two of them hug, and it's just a really nice and wholesome moment for Frey, as she smiles somberly over remembering her sister. But then Laozen stops all the fights and says that everyone blew his socks off and he was enchanted by their battles. Probably just Ryzen versus Hein and Yakuto versus Frey. Hani and Chaco didn't really have a fight. It was just a joke, which I like. But then Laozen says, I want you all, confusing everyone in the class. Laozen snaps his fingers and a gate opens up as we see something disturbing. As everyone's wondering why there are so many people coming out of the woodwork, as he realizes that those are students. As we see in a full 2-page spread, Laozen says that all these students seemingly look like zombies are his battle pets, and their senpai, predecessors, the previous students of Dead Rock, and they look like zombies, like they're basically dead, under his control. And I agree with Ryzen as he says that this is way too creepy. Laozen starts to laugh and says, don't worry, I have the principal's permission. He said I can pick about 10 students a year to make them into battle pets. Makoto asks what battle pets are, and Laozen just says, just what they sound like. They're pets to keep me satisfied. I can hit them, I can kill them, and I can enjoy the cuties as well. Well, I'm severely uncomfortable after saying that. This man must die. Yakuto, obviously, like us the readers, are distraught and angry over this man's actions. As he says, anyway, my battle pets, when they bite somebody, they turn into my battle pets as well. Easy to understand, as Hein just says, huh, sounds like a zombie, I know. I like how in this creepy situation, we literally get some humor mixed into this. Frey asks, and why do we have to turn into those? As Allyfun says, I told ya, I'm enchanted by ya. That's how it is, I fell for ya. Battle pets have it good. You'll get my attention every day, as everyone's understandably, well, freaked out by this. Frey asks Mikoto if she can take control of these people, but Mikoto just says they're not dead bodies, though I can't really say if they're alive either. Allows in 6 these battle pet students that are relatively like zombies to attack the Dead Rock 7, and everybody begins to basically have to fight these pseudo zombies. And they're surprisingly strong, as Chaco points out. And this is bad if they get bitten even by one of them. Yakuto then begins to think that this is why the 4 demon teachers, with their divine power, can't be left alive. And he states that he is going to kill them. He tells everyone in his class to stand back, as he says that this is what it means to be prepared to challenge God himself, as he begins a full dragonification, as shocking everybody that Yakuto is now transforming fully into a black dragon in a full 2-page spread revealing his dragon form, looking like ACNOLOGIA, but with specific details. He is not exactly like ACNOLOGIA. Main thing is the difference in the wings and his overall build. It's been a while since I've read Fairy Tail, but ACNOLOGIA looked a lot larger, bulkier, and his wings were more feather-like. So this is obviously Yakuto's dragon form, and I have a feeling Majima by the end of the series will make Yakuto's dragon form fully look like ACNOLOGIA to symbolize his growth and strength, if he goes that route. Either way, this is sick. I did not expect Yakuto to go for a full dragon transformation within the first 4 chapters. I thought he was just going to slowly use more and more of his dragon frame with his arms, his legs, maybe even grow some wings and a tail depending on the fight. But in this situation, he's like, yeah, no, I ain't holding back right now. I gotta go all out, full dragon mode, wipe out all of these pseudo-zombie students, and take out Laozen right here, right now. This shocks everybody, as they didn't realize that he could turn into a full dragon. And yeah, his transformation is epic. Yakuto begins to slaughter and rip away at all of the battle pets, as we see him towering over everybody. He roars with a loud roar, as Laozen smiles and everyone's kind of being like, man, this is some awesome power. As Frey and Mikoto realize more of these battle pets are appearing off behind them. As Frey notices something, one of these battle pets, these pseudo zombies, is her older sister. As the chapter ends. Whew boy, that was an awesome chapter. We had some nice little bits of action with some fun moments between the main cast, Frey's backstory beginning to be explored, and her encountering her older sister, who has been told to be dead, and it shows that she is actually one of Laozen's battle pets, meaning the implications of that are incredibly dark and messed up, based on what we know and what he said that he does with the students that he has chosen within each of the years. And now Frey seemingly is going to have to fight a zombified version of her older sister. So this is everybody's favorite thing in a shonen or any type of series. Trauma! Ah man, you gotta love some trauma, right? Anyway, I just like that despite this series being a bit of a darker tone, we do get some bits of morality for at least the main cast, and some actual wholesomeness sprinkled throughout, showing that even though they're demons, they're not evil, obviously. And obviously, I'm saying this for the end, Yakuto's dragon transformation, freaking badass. I loved it. This was unexpected and out of nowhere, but it really does show Yakuto's commitment to what's going on, and he is just going full throttle. He is not going to underestimate his opponent. He's going to make sure his classmates don't get bitten by these things, and then he's going to go after Laozen. And I am all but hyped. I have no idea how this is going to end up. For all we know, they'll deal with the battle pets, Laozen will start the fight, and by the end of it, it'll either be a standstill, Laozen will die, or Laozen will decide to let them go and be like, I want to see what you guys can do later on, since he is a battle freak. It can go any of these directions, or there will be outside interference. We have no idea. So far, the series has kind of blown past all my expectations, and I can't fully predict what's going on at the moment. Either way, another fantastic chapter of Dead Rock, and I cannot wait to see what happens with the next chapter, as we're going to be focusing more on Frey next, and obviously Yakuto in his full-on dragon form, and I cannot wait to see everybody in action, and how this part of the story is going to be resolved. But those are my thoughts. What did you guys think? Do you like everything that happened in this chapter? What do you think of Yakuto's dragon transformation and Frey's backstory? And how do you believe all this is going to play out in the end? Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And once more, if you haven't already, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. It really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel. And with how things are going right now, I plan to make more Dead Rock videos in between chapters in the future. But with all that said and done, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you all have an awesome day.